Welcome to the UNSECURITY podcast. Each week, Evan and Brad give an inside look at current information security news, breaches, best practices, and other things you should know to improve your information security. Here are your hosts, FRSecure's Evan Francine and Brad Nye.
All right, welcome back. This is episode 66 of the UNSECURITY podcast, and I'm your host this week, Brad Nye. Today is February 10th, and joining me is my co-host, wow, that's a tough one, Evan Francine.
What'd you just call me?
I don't know. Kind of
Co-host?
I need more caffeine. Good morning, Evan.
Good morning. How you doing, Brad?
Well, I think that should tell you right there. No.
Yeah, you had It's been an
Yes.
interesting weekend, huh?
Yeah, sick kid, so, not a whole lot of sleep, and
Yeah.
is what it is.
Yeah.
Joys of parenthood.
Yeah.
But
we got slammed by snow on, what day was that? Was that yesterday?
Saturday night into yesterday, ended around noon.
I was grateful that my flight got in on Saturday. I was down in Huntsville, Alabama. B-Sides. Shout out B-Sides.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What'd you talk about?
Security.
What?
Yeah, that's all I know. Raising children.
Yeah.
No, so it was B-Sides Huntsville. I spoke on Saturday about how to secure America. Piece of cake.
Very cool.
Yeah. I was warned ahead of time that I wasn't allowed to talk about sex, religion, or politics. And I was like, well, I might as well just go home. What am I doing here?
That was my whole presentation.
Yeah. And I was wondering kind of how they...
That's interesting.
How did they know? Did my reputation precede me or something?
That's weird.
But I gave 2 talks last week. One is a bunch of counties, a bunch of the Minnesota counties, the Minnesota Computer County Consortium, something like that. Talked about ransomware. Gave them the ransomware readiness tool. Lots of
that out there.
Yeah, if you're the ransomware readiness tool. I like to give away free stuff.
Yeah,
you know that.
I know.
So I give away free stuff.
It's cool.
It's good. I gave away 6 books at the talk. I just brought them, give them away.
That's very cool.
Oh, there was a kid there with his dad. They sat in the front row. And what was his name? Son of a gun. Anyway, he wants to get into, cyber security.
Very
That's
cool.
what they call it. Yeah. And so I went down and signed a book to him.
How old?
Oh, he must have been 15, maybe 16.
Yeah, kind of like high school.
But he felt so special to be picked out, from the crowd and then, given a book that I signed right there for him. He thought it was the coolest.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So last week I actually went to, let's see if I get this right, Spring Hill Lake High School.
Yeah.
And talked to their class with Brandon, our marketing guy.
Yeah.
Kind of did a combo. Like he talked about the marketing side of it, and then I talked security. And we did capture the flag type of stuff with them. And it was really cool. They had some really good questions and
nice.
Put me on the spot. And then, of course, anytime you do a live demo, what happens? It didn't work. Right. I had all kinds of issues. My computer wasn't connecting to the internet, but they got on it, and a couple of them were clicking through and solved a couple of the capture the flags before. Like we were able to show how to solve one of them. Okay. Kind of one of the easier ones.
Now, do they still have access to the CTF so they can still continue the competition?
Yep. Yeah, and it was cool. One of the teachers was saying that he was going to use that as part of their lesson plan is going through and doing some of it because it was things that they had talked about in class. So, that was really cool. That was with 20, 25, right in that range, kids in there, 10th through 12th grade. So
all a bunch of little hackers.
It was really cool that they were to see them my LinkedIn blew up. Yeah. Like the day or two before.
That's cool.
And it's all them, and they had questions that were
nice.
It's really,
Well, K through 12 is a big, big focus for Security Studio. We built the S2 School, which is an information security risk assessment specifically for schools. And then, as you know, we're breaking that down into level 1, 2, and 3 because all the schools are different.
Right.
The big mega schools trying to take their assessment and slam it down the throat of a rural school won't work.
Well, and I think kind of what we'd already started on. We had the full risk assessment and then a small business version, and then kind of realizing that even that small business is too much for some companies to handle if they've got nothing.
Right.
So,
do I sound like I have a cold? I feel like I do.
I don't know. It is that time of year.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like my nose is stuffed up.
Yeah.
Which makes you want to talk less. It's weird. Like my nose is stuffed up because I can hear the echo in my head.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, and then this week we're heading up to me and Jim Nash, our state representative from Minnesota. We're heading up to North Dakota to talk to Bismarck. Is, I don't know, it's not really an exciting place to go, I don't think, in February.
Not in February. It's nice in the summer. It's very pretty.
So, but we'll be making the 6.5 hour ride up there to speak with Sean Riley, the CIO, and Kevin Ford, the CISO. I'm excited about that because they're doing some really cool things up there, and
that'd be good.
I think there's some things we can do to help.
Hopefully this freezing fog we had to come into through this morning is gone.
The trees look pretty.
Yeah. It was really weird. The driving in and then just like clusters just appear because the fog just hits it. Anyway.
Well, so then, and just real quick, so we mentioned SMBs, K through 12, and government. That's really the focus right now for Security Studio.
Right.
Is state and local government, K through 12, and SMBs. Those are so underserved. We'll have to talk about that sometime in the podcast, just how underserved those markets are and what we can do collectively to help.
Yeah, I actually had a really good conversation with someone, a potential client last week who was a little bit bigger, but still not, what we would probably classify as enterprise. And they were asking what our approach was. And I said, look, let's focus on the fundamentals for the small to mid-size.
Right.
And then we can scale up.
Right.
That's easy. But if we try and take what works for a Fortune 500 and throw it down a 50-person or 75-person company, throw it just is going to be a failure.
Yeah.
Everyone gets frustrated. But we can take what we do for that 75-person company and scale it up. And then it's just really what solutions you pick to do it that are going to be different. But the fundamentals are always going to be the same.
Right. In the big companies, a lot of the big, the larger mid-market and smaller large market, and even large market companies all suck at the fundamentals too. So there's plenty of work to do there.
It happens all the time.
Like asset management.
What do you have? I don't know.
Stuff.
Right. All right. So last week we were going to touch on this board presentation, talking to board of directors. Yeah. But we got a little worked up and
did we
spent a little more time on.
Oh, were we talking about the
money grab? So we're going to skip over money grab.
We should do a live show from RSA. I'll be live, and then just you'll see me fired up.
I'm not going to get a word in edgewise. It'll just be like commentary over you ranting.
Oh gosh.
So we're going to talk about the board, talking to board of directors. So, as it says, I literally in the notes copied what you put last week. So
nice.
I'm going to be you.
Let's do it.
We've both had a privilege on many occasions to talk to boards and executives. And so we want to talk through kind of what tips are, where do people where are they successful? Where do they, kind of struggle? Mm-hmm. I did put a couple of articles. There's 4 articles that I had pulled up that I thought were pretty useful, or at least had some good talking points in them. Mm-hmm. But, I think the biggest thing for me, talking to the board the first time, I was so nervous.
Really?
Well, the first time I ever talked to them, because they kind of get this, especially when you haven't done it before, like almost I don't know what the right word is, but this like mythic aura, right? It's the board. I don't know. That's not the right word I'm trying to go with, but right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You get this you get this vibe. It's like, oh, I'm talking to the board.
These are really powerful people.
Right. And, and then once you actually talk to them, they're just normal people.
They are.
And I was like, oh, okay. So I think that's my biggest thing right off the bat is they're just regular people that are good at what they do. And security typically isn't what they do.
Right.
Well, so, a lot of times they're going, oh, great, it's the security guy. I'm going to be like, whatever, over my head, talked down to. So it's kind of an interesting, dynamic there that was kind of eye-opening the first time I realized it.
Yeah, and there's tons of guidance on how to speak with boards of directors.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, so if you were going to do your first ever board presentation, and you were, to just Google, tips for speaking to the board, you might get a little confused because there is so many different tips. But talk to somebody who's talked to this board before, if you've never talked to this board.
Mm-hmm.
Because every board of directors is different.
Yeah.
So if you were going to think that that every board of directors is the same and they want the same things, that's mistake number one.
Although I think like you said, the one thing every board you can do for any board presentation is that exactly understand, right? Do your homework on the board, regardless. Mm-hmm. Understand what they want. That's always going to be kind of number one.
Right. And is this the first time they've talked about security at the board, or is this, have they been getting a message regularly up until this point and you're getting, into it? Because that'll also dictate the message, that you send to the board. Because if they've never heard anything about information security before, well, then you get to set the stage.
It's going to define where you start.
Right. Whereas if they've regularly been briefed on information security and this is a new brief from you, well, then what's the message been before so I can stay somewhat consistent with it? I don't want to switch gears completely.
Yeah. Can I see what's been presented so I know?
Yeah. Yeah. So doing your prep work ahead of time, getting to know the board, talking to other people who have talked to the board. Mm-hmm. Every board's got personalities. What are the personalities on the board?
Yeah. Who are the people that you need to focus on in terms of how you present it or
right. What's the culture, of the board? That prep work pays off a lot. Sometimes a board will give you, say that they've got you slotted for 15 minutes, count on 5.
Yeah. I was going to say 5 to maybe 10 depending, but that's where you need to know what's the Q&A like? Do they ask a lot of questions? Do they just listen? Right. If you finish in 5 minutes and are they going to stare at you for 10 going, really, that was it? Or are they going to ask 10 minutes of questions and you have a 15-minute presentation you're not going to get through?
Right. And in some cases, some boards, you and other executives may practice a couple of times before you actually do the board meeting. That's not crazy uncommon depending on the company. In some cases, you're brought in as an independent expert. Yeah. So you're being brought in as your CISO. The CISO is bringing you in.
Those are always fun, but I think those are almost a little more nerve-wracking.
Right.
Because you're being brought in as the outside expert.
Right.
And, you have a champion on your side in that CISO or a CIO, whoever is bringing you in.
Right.
But
you also have to maintain some sort of independence, right? Because if the CISO is bringing you in, he's bringing you in for your credibility or whatever. So he's not bringing you in because you're his or her buddy,
right?
Even though you might be buddies, right? So to the board, you have to show this. I'm an independent expert. If security here was different than what you're being told, I would tell you. Setting that sort of. I'm here to tell you the truth, not what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Including with the CISO.
Well, I've done it with, at organizations, big organizations that scored very well, above 700 on the assessment, right? And they're like, ooh, yay. And I'm like, but that doesn't mean you're done. There's still areas to work on. You still have areas of risk. And if you just sit back and say, well, we're here where we wanted to be, you're going to go backwards.
Sure.
And you could, obviously the CISO knows that, but to hear it from that outside, you could see a couple of the people kind of go, oh, all right, fine. Like, really? I thought we're here. Right. No. Yeah, you are now. Yeah. But if you stop, you won't be.
Right. Yeah. So I think, finding as much information as you can about the board, who's on the board, what other boards do they sit on?
Yeah.
If you've got a board member who has some security chops, well, you're probably going to change your message just a little bit for that person potentially versus the others. Because the board probably, they all know each other.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a security person or somebody who, has some security chops on the board, they probably know a little bit more about security. Right. So you don't have to start them off with
maybe the basics. You could throw some, a little bit heavier on there.
Maybe.
More mature terminology.
If you have the opportunity to find out specifically what the board actually wants, well, that helps because then you can cater your message toward that.
Yep.
I like to use, some people will tell you to only use facts. I don't agree with that. I think where you state facts. When you state opinion, make sure that everybody knows that this is your opinion.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So they don't mix the two because I don't want them taking my opinion as fact potentially.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. From what I can see, you have a good program. You are investing in in your security program. Yeah. But the fact is you can't sit back.
Right.
So,
well, and having, I don't know, sometimes in a board meeting you have a presentation, sometimes you don't. Mm-hmm. That's also important. I like to keep presentations, when I prepare for a board meeting, I might create a 30-slide presentation, very much longer than what I'm actually going to end up giving. And then when you do that prep work ahead of time, you're talking with other executives and things like that, you'll cut it back.
Drop it out. Yeah.
The last board presentation I gave, I think my initial slide deck was 32. It ended up being 5. Yeah. Which was totally fine. But that also is sometimes when you create something, you don't want it changed, so you don't want to take input, but you got to be really open to that because,
it's always interesting to know or try and figure out what's the right level. And that I don't know. That's kind of the challenge too, and fun, part of the fun of it too, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've never seen 2 boards the same.
No,
for sure. And so doing that prep work at a time, if it's a larger company, they probably expect more, prep work. The last board presentation, and I did give them the truth, right? I gave them, this is where you were. Mm-hmm. This is where I see you today. You spent a lot of money on information security. This is what I think it's gotten you. Mm-hmm. What it hasn't gotten you is risk elimination.
Right.
And I gave them 3 warnings at the end. One was to really fight back against complexity.
Yeah.
If there are things happening in the information security program that don't make sense or seem confusing, to ask, right? To try to get clarity on those things that seem mysterious to you.
Right.
It's okay to hold your CISO, hold people accountable, and have them explain what they're doing with information security in a language that everybody understands.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was one of my, give them takeaways, right? Fight complexity because they've spent millions of dollars on information security over the last 4 or 5 years.
Do you actually understand what you got?
Right.
What it's doing?
The mystery is, we just chalk it up as, well, it's mysterious. Well, is it mysterious or are you just being ignorant of what that money was spent for? Right. I mean, it's a fine line. It's not that I'm asking the board of directors to meddle and get involved in every little detail about information security, but at the end of the day, these are the people that are held responsible for it.
Yeah.
So fight complexity.
Yeah.
I know the more money you usually throw at a problem too, the more technologies you buy, the more blinky lights you get.
But do you actually understand what you're getting for that?
Yeah.
What is it doing? How is that helping?
The second bit of advice that I gave them was, and this one was just a couple of weeks ago, so it's fresh, it's top of mind. Excuse me. The second bit of advice was, don't take your eye off the ball. You've made all this progress.
Don't get complacent. Yeah.
Yeah. You've spent all this time, all this money on information security. You've reached new levels based on, the S2 score.
Right.
Now is not the time to feel like you've arrived.
No.
It's not like, oh, we made it. And so now we can take our eye off the ball.
It's almost harder to maintain that higher score than it is to get there.
Sometimes.
Right.
It should be less expensive, but it should be, hard.
Because I think part of it is that maybe some of that energy or push goes away. Hey, right. Like you said, we're here, so we don't need to keep spending, or we don't need to keep doing these things because we're there. Well, no.
Well, and why do most companies spend or increase their spending on information security? I mean, reality is you've been told you have to. Mm-hmm. Compliance.
Right.
Something bad happened. Right. So the pendulum usually swings the other way when before something bad happened, you weren't spending enough time, enough money, enough whatever on information security. And then all of a sudden the bad thing happened.
Right.
And then the pendulum swings the other way. Now you're spending too much on information security. Budget is wide open. Spend as much as you want. Do whatever you want.
Right. Yeah.
Which I think is just as dangerous as the other side, right? It's where do I find that middle, that middle area?
Yeah, having that even keel and having somebody who's got experience or has been through it is just invaluable at that point.
Yeah. And then I think the third reason people spend money on security is because they actually get it. Mm-hmm. That number has been increasing, but it's not fast enough.
I think part of
it's the smallest.
The people that get it are usually part of that second group, right? They've been through this somewhere else and they get somewhere new and they're like, nope, we are going to be proactive and get there before this happens.
Right, right. And so if you were to guess, let me ask you this. If you were to guess how, I said 3 buckets: compliance, something bad happened, or you actually get it. If you were to break 100% of all information security spending and just put them into those 3 buckets, what would your guesstimate be?
I would say, 75-80% compliance, regulatory, 15 to 20% something bad has happened, and whatever is left, they get it, single digits.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I would be about that same. I think I'd say more like 80-10. 10, maybe 85, 50,
well, I would
85, 10,
maybe
5.
2 or 3 years ago, but I think there's been enough, sadly, enough bad happening that percentage is growing as people are having gone through it. So now as they move around and stuff, they're being more proactive.
Yeah. I don't know why people still, it's just ingrained in us that we just feel like stuff isn't going to happen to us.
Yeah.
It happened to the business right down the road, but it's never going to happen to us.
We're not in an industry that anybody would do anything with.
I wonder the bad things that happen to people. We should ask them that in our incident response. Were you one of those people who didn't think this was ever going to happen to you?
They usually volunteer that, especially the executives that get involved.
What do they usually say?
How did this happen? Right? We spent all this money. Shocked. How could this happen?
Bingo. And hey, that's the third thing that I warned this particular board, and it was a big company, was to understand the difference between risk management and risk elimination. Mm-hmm. The goal is risk management because it's going to happen. You're going to have a breach, and what's not healthy is to have the breach or bad thing happen, and then you come back to the CISO and say, we spent X millions of dollars on this. You must, I don't want you thinking that this CISO isn't good at their job because the bad thing happened. Because it's not a function of how much money you spent. It's going to happen. Right? Yeah. There's a certain loss of return on investment where, you don't just spend wildly, but no matter how much I spend, I'm not going to stop it all.
No, you can't.
Right.
You're just trying to push it out and minimize the risk of it happening sooner. Right. Just keep doing the right things and keep pushing that thread out.
Right. So those are the 3 things. The 3 main themes in my presentation to the last board was were those three things.
So I was thinking about it as we were just talking. What was your toughest or hardest board presentation?
Oh, probably St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
Super on top of it. What was?
Well, I did a couple of board presentations there. One, their board is huge, like 100 something. I mean, it's like a huge board.
The biggest one I think is like 25, and that's a big board. Yeah. Holy cow!
We had people calling in from all over the place.
Oh man!
And these were really, really powerful people. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is a big deal,
right?
And so there were, executives from all sorts of companies, right? Big companies. And the first time I did an assessment of UNSEC, which is the fundraising side of St. Jude, we spent maybe 3-4 days on site, gathered all this information, and I was the lead. So I came back to the office, and normally I wait a week or two before I actually start writing the report. This is back when we had to write the reports manually, right? And the reason why I do that is because, you take a step back, you get some fresh perspective, and then I go to my notes and start writing. Well, I lost my notes.
That would be a bit of a panic.
Yeah. So I went from recollection, and I went from, the other people that were with me kind of used whatever notes they had. And so I wasn't 100% confident, I don't think, in all the assertions I was making in the assessment. And so, you give this board presentation, and I'm already not 100% confident in myself and my own conclusions.
100 plus people.
Yeah. And then you got 100 plus people there. And at the end of the day, it went really well. This is back when we used to do the assessments A, B, C, D, F. And so they understood it. I think it went well. They hired us again, for future work. So, and they liked the metrics. They liked numbers.
Well, it's easy to understand and digest. They're not security people, so give them something that they can understand.
Yeah, exactly. So, they liked the fact that we put a number to it or a grade, and then they wanted, they gave us things to do. There's action items that came out of that board meeting, which was awesome because then the management had to respond. So we moved the ball forward, and then the board wanted an update using the same methodology, using the same metric, using the same numbers, so that they could see the delta between where you started and where you're at now. We took care of these 10 most significant risks. What's next? Right. So that was really neat to get them systemized. And they picked up on that really quick. So that part was good. But it was a
little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I was nervous for sure.
So I think the worst or the hardest one for me was I had a presentation and got through like 2 slides because they just wanted to talk.
Oh.
And that's fine, but man, did that put you on the spot when they're just asking security questions, not even related directly to the company.
Oh yeah.
But just like, well, what about this? And it was fun, don't get me wrong, but like that when it just throws you because you're like, okay, we're going to go through and talk these 5 things and we're going to do these things. And then like just off the rails immediately.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's part of I guess that's part of the fun.
Well, it shows that they're paying attention.
Oh, it was.
So that's good.
It was fun. Like after the fact, I'm kind of like exhausted, but then, exactly. Right. Thinking as I told.
Well, then sometimes like the last presentation, because it was, just 2 weeks ago, and they didn't ask any questions. So
the exact opposite.
Was I that good at presenting what I just presented? Are they just
completely engaged? Or?
So I have an email. I have to send an email. I meant to do it last week, but it got away from me too quick. But just send an email to the CISO. Hey, what did you hear afterwards? So I think that's also important for the board is they may not bring up things in the meeting themselves. They may not feel comfortable asking a question in the board meeting. This is just, like I said, different boards are different. They're all different. So it's always good to follow up and find out.
Yeah.
Did you hear anything afterwards? What could have been better? Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's always, there are no two that are the same.
No.
And understanding and, growing from it. And
I've had some where they made me feel like I was part of the board. Like you're there, because usually you get excused, right? You do your little pony dance and then you get excused. But I've had some boards where they've kept me there for like an hour. I'm like, okay, we just keep talking about security stuff, like, kind of like yours. And then I've had other ones where you feel like you're wasting their time, It's like they're looking at their watch and I've been talking for 30 seconds now.
Yeah. And I think board or executive, leadership. So not even just the board where they come in quarterly or whatever, but speaking to all the day-to-day C-level executives, very similar. Right. Like those are, I like the ones where you get brought in specifically, or there's a meeting specific for discussing it. And, you could tell I feel like you can tell pretty quickly if the executives are bought in or not.
Right.
Like the ones that are super argumentative and it's like, okay, I get it.
Right. Yeah. And if I had an opportunity, places where you have a new board or, board that's never talked about security before and you kind of have an open slate, I try to cover, 5 things with them. I mean, I've sort of standardized on those things. Like 1, what is information security?
Yeah.
2, where are we at? Where are we going? When are we going to get there? How much is it going to cost? So those require numbers and metrics, right? So we use the S2 score. So what's your current S2 score? We've done the roadmap so that we're going to make recommendations to the board on where we need to go next. That gives us our future S2 score. That also gives us, when we're going to get there, and it gives us how much money. And I'd like the board to pay attention to that number so we don't have to spend a ton of time going through this over and over and over again, right? So we can just operationalize. Your current score is a 602. Your score next quarter, when we come and talk to you again, should be a 612.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just gives them something to track along and put things into context. And then the 5th thing that I, talk to is maybe some current events.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
internal or external.
It was like to hear, and how can that relate to them?
Right. Right. So if you're struggling, if any of the listeners are struggling with, I've never talked to the board before, but I think I have an opportunity to present to the board or something like that. I think that's a good place for you to start is make sure the board is all on the same page with what this is.
Yeah.
What is information security? What should I be responsible for? What, is it an IT issue or is it a business issue? That has to be a discussion because it's a business issue. And that's why I'm here with the board.
Otherwise, right.
Otherwise, I'd just be reporting, I'd just be giving this stuff to the CIO, which unfortunately happens in too many companies.
Yeah.
But those are the things. It's what is security? Where am I at? Where am I going? When am I getting there? How much it's going to cost? And then just some current events.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep it simple.
Yeah. And you can get through that once you've gotten in a rhythm. That's easily a 10-minute talk.
Yeah, it's perfect timing.
Yeah.
They're interested enough.
Right. When you have to put that framework of understanding, I know a lot of people are using the NIST CSF, and I think that framework, it's a beautiful framework, but even that framework can get a little too confusing for, if you just take the categories.
Yeah.
Put that up on a slide.
It's too much.
Oh, God, you're going to sit there could potentially sit there for a long, long time. If you put the functions, even that, those 5 functions.
Because then they're going to go, well, what is it?
What's identify? Tell me more about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm with you. I think using the CSF, great.
Right.
Presenting on the CSF, dangerous.
Well, I mean,
tricky.
You expect board of directors they will have heard of probably the NIST CSF. but expecting them to understand how it works and how it functions and all that other stuff.
Right.
Most of the people in the information security industry don't even know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The framework is nice. Applying the framework it's not easy for some people.
It's a lot of work.
Right.
Weird.
So board stuff.
There you go. So, we'll post some talking points as well. Just like I said, I think there's some good articles. There's some not good articles, but I think what was interesting to me on those is that the overall theme is the same, right?
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. So, you know what you're talking about, have a plan.
Yeah. The biggest
be prepared.
one, the one that I loved the most was, it actually came from the EC Council, which I'm not a big fan of the EC Council, but.
No, it was
speak the language that is understood. That's like critical. If you're not speaking their language,
you've
total disconnect. You might as well be speaking.
Well, it would be like
gibberish.
If you go into a German company and speak English and they only speak German, it's the same exact thing.
Right.
You know, avoid the acronyms. Avoid.
Oh God, yes, please.
Just keep it as simple as you can. So other thing we wanted to talk about that's kind of, I think, getting just a little bit of play is CMMC.
Say what?
I know. Weird.
That's a thing?
Apparently. That just dropped last week. Was that Monday? I don't even remember. Last week
20th.
or so.
What day was?
2 weeks.
It was supposed to be the 20th. But okay.
I think it was last week.
Anyway, you've got some time. Because they don't even have... You can't get certified yet. Anyway,
no,
there's no accrediting body.
That was I keep getting asked by our sales team, are we going to do it? Are we going to do it? I was like, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I don't know.
Right.
What does it mean to become a certified assessor? Nobody knows.
Right.
It doesn't exist.
Right.
Oh, well, don't they have to do it by June?
Who do what by June?
Become CMMC certified by June.
Who?
Yes. And I think that's kind of the fun part. So CMMC is supposed to apply to DoD contracts. So if you're, the way I understand it, if you're a contractor or subcontractor anywhere down the line.
In the supply chain.
You will need to get CMMC certified, and there's multiple levels, and you don't get to choose your level. You are told what your level is.
Right.
So I think that I actually like that.
Right.
Because there's too much confusion out there, and people are like, well, I'm FIPS low, medium. Well, you're making a judgment call on that, and what if they disagree? Now you're out of luck.
Right.
So...
So version 1 of the CMMC was published, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for people who don't know what CMMC is, it's Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. The framework is published, but there's no way to become certified yet. They're going to be doing some training on the Defense Acquisition University's website, but that doesn't even come until summer. So you can't even be trained on it until summer.
Right.
And at about that time, allegedly, the DoD is going to pick the first 10 contracts to be subject to CMMC. So I don't know how many DoD, contractors there are out there, but 10.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's got to be thousands and thousands.
Right. So you won't even see them popping into RFPs, requests for proposals, until the fall. So, yes, you should be aware of them. Yes, you should start, if you are a DoD contractor, you should start implementing these things and getting guidance and whatever else. But in terms of achieving that certification, I would, depending on who I was, if I'm not one of the big defense contractor, working with some pretty sensitive information, I might push my goal to be CMMC certified into middle of next year, maybe even the end of next year.
Right.
Because they're not expecting to have all of these. They're not expecting to have the CMMC in all of the RFPs until 2026.
Right.
So no panic. Take your time. do it right.
Yeah, I keep getting asked, well, what should we be doing? Well, okay, start with a risk assessment that's mapped to known standards. Where are we? Right. Hey, we're going to get CMMC certified. Have you ever done a risk assessment? No. Well, okay, then why are you jumping in the deep end if you've never even been in the water? Right.
Exactly. Well, and if you do a search on Google for CMMC, oh my God, everybody and their mother does CMMC prep and certification. Yeah. So everybody will want your dollars for sure on this. Some of them are fly-by-night, consulting companies, and some of them are really good. Mm-hmm. But I guess if I had one piece of advice, take your time.
Yeah.
Slow down.
Do your homework.
Right. You don't have to choose somebody to do your CMMC certification now because you can't.
Yeah.
There is nobody who can do a certification yet. But just take your time. And like you said, do the fundamentals. Security fundamentals are security fundamentals. It doesn't matter if it's for this, that, or the other thing. If you haven't done the foundational fundamentals of information security, I could give two craps about whatever certification you're going after because you're not going to get it.
Right.
And if you did by chance somehow finagle your way into getting it, it's not going to be sustained.
No. Yeah, at some point it's going to.
So, yeah, you're right. Do a fundamental information security risk assessment. That is something that I would do all the time. Right? I would have done that already. But if I hadn't and I was going for CMMC, that would definitely be the place I would start right now.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point is, start with the basics. Right? Like that's something, doing a good risk assessment.
I mean, was Hank Aaron born hitting home runs?
Well, maybe.
I don't think so. He had to learn.
Yeah. No, but reality is no matter what CMMC, HIPAA, FFIEC, whatever it is, even if it's just vendor, you're getting asked, doing a risk assessment is always defensible.
Yep.
Like there is no downside to just doing, where am I?
Right.
What does my program look like? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Where should I be focusing time and effort?
Absolutely.
So, if you haven't ever done it, start there. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, what regulatory, what contractual requirements, you're going to be in a good position for having done it. Or a better position, I should say.
Well, and it's such a good educational tool, too. I don't know how many people out there are confused about information security and confused about, all the things that we have to, in this industry, whether it be CMMC, HIPAA compliance, you mentioned FFIEC, NIST, CSF,
FINRA, hey, let's talk acronyms.
I mean, on and on and on. If you're confused about that stuff and you're looking for a place to put your feet down, it's got to be an information security risk assessment.
Yep.
Because it makes sense of what all this crap means.
Yeah.
And it also is a great educational tool so that you know the next thing to do.
Yeah.
You're not confused by all this peripheral crap.
Well, and make sure that the one you choose is based on a well-known standard, the NIST CSF or the ISO 27000 series, probably the two business-friendly.
Sure.
Yeah, and cover everything.
Yeah. Because, I like the fact that the DoD is coming out with the CMMC. I like the fact that, there's a reason why they're putting such an emphasis on, their supply chain, because that is where their most significant risk is probably going to come from, right? So I like all of that. And in the private industry, we can learn from this. Where is your most significant risk going to come from? Probably your own supply chain, right? So what does your vendor risk management program look like? Do you have one? Do you even know how many vendors you have? Do you know what they do? There's so many times where you ask this question and people are like, well, we don't have many vendors. What does many mean?
Right.
It only takes one, or we don't have any vendors. It's like, really? You made your own operating system.
Yeah. You have your own internet that you develop. What's your routers and switches? How do you connect?
Exactly. So it's just this, I like the fact that the DoD is going here. I like the fact that they're somewhat going methodically on this. I like the fact that you publish the framework first so people aren't getting, because it would really suck to finalize the framework tomorrow and then the next day expect people to be certified. I mean,
Yeah.
I like the way they're going about it. I hate the fact that our industry capitalizes on crap like this and just causes so much confusion.
Yeah. Although, I'm with you on that. I do like, and I like from what I've seen, I'll be the first to admit I haven't read through all 380 some odd pages of the.
It would have been nice if they would have released the damn thing in a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So I had to, I don't know.
Like a functional way
I don't
to.
know if I'm breaking the law or anything, but I had to unpassword protect the PDF, which is, save the PDF as your own PDF without the password, whatever. Because they did password protect the PDF. It's like, I don't understand why you did that.
It makes you an elite hacker, right?
Elite.
There you go.
And then, I did put it all into a spreadsheet. So if you want it in a spreadsheet form.
Yeah, you have to do it yourself.
Well, because you have to I have a bunch of things. Because what I don't want people to do, what's a waste of money, is for you to do CMMC and do, an ISO certification and do a SOC 2 and do this and do that and do that. Is there commonality where I can do one assessment and satisfy multiple requirements, right? So I'm not redoing efforts and pissing away money everywhere. So in order to do that sort of mapping and things, you have to break it down into a spreadsheet, right? Or some form like that. And
what I don't get is, I don't know why they would do that.
No. Well, and that was the, I haven't looked at the latest one, the one that was just published, because I didn't expect there to be much change between the one that was actually published and the previous draft version.
Yeah. I didn't look at like I said, I haven't read through all of it.
Right.
But I do like, from what I've seen, I like it better than the DFARS. It's more,
yes.
It's more functional.
Right.
From a business perspective, right? It's not just.
And I'm so tired of the government with their acronyms everywhere. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So, I think overall I like the CMMC. It's maybe a little too prescriptive. It'll be nice to see, when these 10 first ones sort of come back and we start getting some inputs.
Yeah, I think, understanding, what exactly is going to happen and what is their, what level is it? Is getting CMMC certified going to be the same as FedRAMP? Right? We don't know. I mean, if that's the case, that's a whole nother issue.
Right.
Because that's a major undertaking.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it'll be interesting to see how things flow out. I like the fact that the government's taking this seriously and sort of cleaned up the DFARS thing and went with the CMMC, and we'll see.
Yeah.
Don't panic.
No, you got time.
Take your time.
Do the fundamentals.
Understand what you're doing. Every dollar you spend on information security should be accountable to something. So just relax, educate.
Yep. There you go. Look at that. We're talking security and stuff.
I like security most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with that.
Sometimes I don't.
All right. Well, let's talk some news real quick here.
News?
News.
Did you say newsreel? Like newsreel?
The old movies, like before the movie or whatever?
There's like Israel, like the old Israel, and then this is the newsreel?
I don't know.
Interesting.
All right. Lots to talk about. So one you brought up and that I hadn't seen yet, that Victoria, who does our weekly news recap, I hadn't read it yet.
Shout out to Victoria.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
So this is actually off of quickcountry.com.
Quick Country.
Yeah.
Yeehaw.
It's Rochester's #1 for new country. That's what it says on the website.
Rochester's
We're getting a little bit punchy here. I'm tired. It's 7:56. It could be a long day. Twin Cities man charged with turning off hospital's oxygen tank. That's kind of a big deal. So felony damage to property against a 39-year-old Larry Redunes. He was seen walking towards the fenced-off area where the hospital tanks are located, seen standing behind one of the main tanks, and then moves out of the camera's view. And then they were informed oxygen pressure was decreasing. He checked and found they had been forced open, and zip ties and stainless steel latches had been tampered with and broken. So, people go, well, what does that have to do with security? Well, I would say that you've got some physical security issues if there's not camera coverage of something that critical. And how is he able to walk in there that easily.
Well, and thank God they had some detective controls in place.
I was going to say, that's really impressive that they were, monitoring or got the alerts that quickly. Right. And then and not only got the alerts, actually responded and paid attention.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and the engineer who responded said it was fortunate the problem was taken care of right away because the sudden loss of oxygen could have caused injury or death to multiple patients. So that's a weak area then for hospitals, right?
Yeah.
What happens if he would have destroyed it?
Right. Yeah.
So that it couldn't have been brought back online so quickly.
Revisit those physical controls in place to strengthen them if it's that critical to the, life or death, literally.
Right. So your preventative controls. So preventative controls failed in this instance because he was able to get to the thing and disable.
Right.
So cause the damage. Thankfully, their detective and responsive controls were on par, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they detected it right away, responded to it right away. But yeah, it's kind of scary when you think about it. If you take out a hospital's oxygen supply in a large healthcare facility, will people die?
I don't know. Yeah, see, and that's part of it. That is a good question. Do they have secondary tanks or secondary, supply for the critical, or is it separate for like the OR, right? Like things like that could be, or ICU. So that'd be interesting to understand a little bit more on some of that. But
yeah, and I wonder what his motive was.
Yeah, he said he was upset.
Oh,
so there you go. So next one off of InfoSecurity magazine, Emotet spreads via newly discovered Wi-Fi module. So that's awesome. Emotet is designed to spread to any nearby Wi-Fi networks protected only by weak passwords. Worm.exe, first action it takes is to copy the service exe string to a variable that we use during file spreading. Main loop, and begins profiling wireless networks using DLL calls to spread to any networks it can access. I can't imagine this not being there's no way it's going to be a problem like downtown areas where there's hundreds of
You got the creativity of the malware writer,
I mean, it's actually really impressive.
Calls it worm.exe.
Yeah.
Like, well, we're not trying to hide.
I mean, but nobody's catching it, so.
I know.
But it is pretty impressive the way they put it together. It's, again, I just wonder how much further we could get if these guys put some of this brain power like to a positive.
Oh, sure.
Because I mean, it's really impressive to see some of the stuff they do.
Right.
So
upon startup of worm.exe, the first action is to copy the service.exe string to a variable that will be used during file spreading. Next, it steps into the main loop and immediately begins profiling the wireless network using WLAN API.dll calls in order to spread to any networks it can access.
Yeah. So,
wow.
And what's interesting in there is the worm.exe timestamp is April 16th, 2018. So,
it's been running for a while.
Yeah. Or, yeah, who knows? But that's not ideal. I like the detection strategies. Active monitoring for endpoints for new services installed. Well, not happening most places. And, stronger Wi-Fi passwords. Well, people can't get MFA installed because it's too disruptive. Can you imagine changing Wi-Fi passwords? Oh, well, that's just, you can't do that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Strong Wi-Fi passwords.
We'll see. So that was interesting. The next one is from gbhackers.com. Robinhood ransomware borrow vulnerable driver to kill antivirus and encrypt Windows system files. So
yeah, we saw something about this last week too.
Yeah. There was no, this is, I think, different.
Oh, it is.
This is different from, because that was for the NetScaler.
That's right.
Where they were getting in and
then
closing
fixing the loop
after they already established persistence. So
Okay.
this is a different one.
All right.
So this one,
come up with better names.
I know they're going to fight over who came up with it first.
Mm-hmm.
This is using a digitally signed vulnerable driver to bypass protection by killing files belonging to endpoint security products, bypassing tamper protection and antivirus software to encrypt the system files. So they're using a living off the land technique and using a gigabyte driver vulnerability tracked as CVE 2018-19320. So you should hopefully have, I didn't even look. They should hopefully have gotten that patch by now. So Sophos came out and said, this is the first time we've observed ransomware shipping a trusted signed third-party driver to patch Windows kernel in memory, load their own unsigned malicious driver, and take out security applications from kernel space. Yeah, that's scary.
Right.
And so.
Yeah, this is disclosed everywhere.
Yeah, not a good one.
Well, so what can I do with this? I wonder.
Make sure you're patching everything, not just Windows. Get your drivers patched.
Right. This only affects Gigabyte now. Extreme Gaming Engine, OC Guru App Center, and the Aorus graphics engine.
So, but Gigabyte's a pretty big name and
true
out there. So,
supposedly, there's an upgrade. Well, is it? I don't know. Because CPA 2.3, there's an upgrade. You should be all right. You should be able to patch.
Yeah, patch, please.
How many people patch their hardware? Not enough.
I'm going to guess not very many.
No. Most of the time we're focused on operating systems.
Yep.
And then if we get our hands around operating systems, then sometimes we'll go after applications. And if you get your hand around applications, then what about drivers?
Yeah. And how many manufacturers make driver upgrades and patches easy to get?
Well, if you happen to be one of these people that gets hit by this, you've got endpoint protection in place, so you might be thinking, "Oh, we're good." But if you're, you may not be, right? You might be running hardware.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So be careful about that one.
So, last one that I was going to talk about is from Krebs on Security. The domain corp.com is going up for sale. Kind of, I not always agree with some of the stuff and how Krebs does it, but he just really does a good job writing up kind of the history and backstory and setting what's going on. So it's got a really good background of where this is coming from and, the investor that originally bought it and why he's selling it. And, there's a hope that Microsoft will buy it. We'll see what happens, but if cyber criminals were to get it, you could definitely have some issues because, how many people use Corp as their internal,
right?
And so that'll be interesting to see what happens. But it's a long article. It's really good though.
So the risk is that you're using corp.com or something.corp.com as an internal domain.
Right.
Which then also could potentially become resolvable on the internet, which would then point you to IP addresses outside of your network when you intended to be internal.
Right. And part of that is Microsoft used to, or long ago, said, name it Corp. Right. So that was kind of their guidance. Mm-hmm. So
the asking price is $1.7 million.
Which, honestly, for Microsoft, they should just snap it up.
Right. Yeah.
That'd be interesting to follow and see what happens with that one.
When you can't really fault him either,
no.
Mike O'Connor, because Mike O'Connor bought it in 1994 He bought a bunch of them. Man, this guy's got some cash, doesn't he? Bar.com, cafes.com, grill.com, place.com, pub.com, television.com, corp.com. Wow.
Yeah.
For the past 26 years, he refused to auction corp.com because of, I think partially because of this. So good for him.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's some interesting back and forth in terms of, is he, an investor or is he a cyber squatter, right? Because he never had any.
Well, back then, the cyber squatting was okay, sort of. You know what I mean? That was so wild back then.
Yeah.
So people were buying domain names up everywhere and making money. I mean, it was just another way to make money, I suppose.
Anyway, that's a good read. So, all right.
How about the city of Racine, Wisconsin? They got hit by ransomware.
Oh, I didn't see that one. When did that come out?
I don't know. Last week sometime.
There's too many to keep up with.
I know. But it's back to that. Maybe we pick that back up again. Just the things we can do. The things we can do to help local government with ransomware, right?
Yeah.
So I think they were down. They might still be down, but they were down for a while, like days. So Racine, Wisconsin. I'm from Minnesota, so we protect everything west of us from Wisconsin, from the Wisconsin invasion. But it's sad that when cities get hit by this stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's so many. Then there was the Cisco.
Oh, the
CD PON, whatever.
Yeah.
Affecting layer 2. It's just, it's almost too much to sometimes try to keep up with.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do? Just go back to the fundamentals. Fundamentals.
Patch. Know what you have.
Right.
So
we should do a show maybe just on the fundamentals. What are the fundamentals? Maybe we'll do a show on that.
Yeah.
I think next week I'll have maybe I'll have Jim Nash join us as a guest again. Because we're leaving for North Dakota today. Maybe
talk about what governments are doing for
to get his take, because there are some things that I'm sort of surprised about with state government. I would have expected better. Does your state government do vendor risk management?
No. I don't have any idea, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say no.
But, that's kind of a bad deal, right? You kind of maybe should do something with that.
But they do RFPs.
True.
So, right? Isn't that the same thing?
True. Yeah, maybe.
No,
it's not. Those are questions that, I don't think many of us think about enough, We just assume that our state, county, and city governments are doing what they should be doing. And it's not because of incompetence. I'll tell you that for sure.
No,
I was talking to one, before we wrap up, I talked to a bunch of counties last week, and one county, counties don't run themselves like businesses. If counties ran themselves more like businesses, I think they would find themselves with more budget. Because one of the ladies who was in the audience was just like, I can't get budget. Like, why can't you? Anyway, we'll talk about that. It'll be an interesting talk. Maybe we'll do that next week, just about how maybe we can help people get budget.
Yeah.
Something like that.
All right. Well, that sounds good. So that's it. We're done. 66. We're done. Thank you to the listeners.
In the bag.
Yeah. Keep the questions and feedback coming. We're still waiting. I haven't seen any people volunteering to be interviewed, but
interviewed. If you're looking for a job, struggling,
please send us some. Yeah. We're more than happy to talk to you. So you can send things to us by email at unsecurity@protonmail.com. If you're the social type, socialize with us on Twitter. I'm at Brad Nye. Evan is at Evan Francine. And you can follow Security Studio at Studio Security and FRSecure at FRSecure. So that is it. We'll talk to everyone next week.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the UNSECURITY podcast. We value our listeners and would love to hear from you. Give us your feedback by emailing us at unsecurity@protonmail.com. That's unsecurity@protonmail.com. Be sure to tune in next week to hear the latest insights from Brad and Evan.